Good evening. I want to call the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners meeting of March 17th to order. I want to welcome everybody here. I know we're in new digs, but a new location, but we thought it was appropriate today on the 99th anniversary to have it in this location. Cumberland County Board of Commissioners meeting. Well, that'll be fun.
That's the ghost of the courthouse.
We're going to pause for a second while they fix that.
Both courthouses.
As Commissioner Adams said, the ghost of Lafayette.
Thank you.
Nope.
As Commissioner Adams said,
That's a long delay. See, where are my military members? No PCIs done. I'm just kidding. I didn't do my own PCIs.
Hit the mute button. That's what I'm going to try. Yeah, try the mute button. That has always worked at my house. My wife mute me all the time.
All right, now we don't have an echo, hopefully. All right, so again, just want to welcome everyone here. We thought it was appropriate to do it in this setting on this date, 99 years. This is a great building, and just we wanted to take an opportunity to have it here, have our meeting here, and showcase this location and showcase a little bit about the history of this courthouse, and we'll have a proclamation to it later. Plus, one of the things that Commissioner Tyson said when he first got aboard, he said, we've got to have one meeting over in the historic courthouse. So we can check that one off the first 100 days of stuff we needed to do. Thank you again for being here. I'm looking for my pastor. There he is. I want to recognize Pastor Christopher Stackhouse from Lewis Chapel Missionary Baptist Church. He's here to bring the invocation. Sir, if you'll come forward to the mic. Sorry, I didn't get to see you beforehand. He'll bring us the invocation, and then I'd like to recognize someone else for the pledge. So if you can go ahead and stand if you're able.
Thank you so much. Let us pray.
Thank you.
Lord, would I in awesome wonder consider the works of your great hand.
Thank you.
How great thou art. As we assemble in this sacred space, honoring the 99 years of legacy, the shoulders that we stand on, we thank you for them, for their sacrifices and for their leadership, and we pray for our leadership right now. Our community is in need. There's disjointedness in our nation, and yet God is still a good God.
Amen.
So we ask for your grace and your guidance upon those that have been elected to lead. May they lead with courage, with strength, and with mercy. Not only do we pray for them, Lord, but we pray for their families, and we pray for our community. In the name of Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen.
Amen. And we're going to give everyone a second before we take the Pledge of Allegiance. I want to let Pastor Stackhouse say a couple words about where his church, and also thank you for doing this tonight, my friend. I appreciate you being here.
Oh, okay. Lewis Chapel Missionary Baptist Church. Right here in Fayetteville, right here in Fayetteville, one church, 3 locations. But we want all God's children to know that you belong here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I'd now like to recognize Ann Provencher, President of the Cumberland County Veterans Council, to lead the Pledge of Allegiance and then say a couple words afterwards.
Present arms. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Order.
And you can be seated.
Sir, I'd just like to thank you for helping represent the Cumberland County Veterans Council. The Veterans Council has 49 organizations that are a part of it. We meet on a monthly basis, the second Tuesday of the month at the DSS building at 6:30 p.m. And if there's anybody who would like to attend those meetings, it is open to all. And our goal is to consolidate all of our efforts and goals to help all of our veterans, their families, and their dependents.
And thank you so much for being here tonight, and thanks for all you do for the veterans in our community. Before we move to the public comment period, I'd like to ask our two Fayetteville Cumberland Youth Council to come forward, Sterling Kelly and Rylan Mack. And I think you've got a couple words for us.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Rylan Mack. I am a junior at 71st High School and the chair of the Fayetteville Community Council.
And my name is Sterling Kelly. I'm a junior at Cumberland Polytechnic Early College and the Sergeant at Arms of the Fayetteville Cumberland Youth Council. Last week, FCYC had the opportunity to travel to Washington, D.C. for the National League of Cities Congressional Conference. The National League of Cities, NLC, is an advocacy organization in the United States that represents the country's 19,495 cities, towns, and villages, along with 49 state and municipal cities. The organization plays a vital role in empowering city leaders and ensuring that the voices of residents, including young people, are heard at the national level.
FCYC was proud to send 5 members to represent our city. We participated in leadership workshops and networking sessions that allowed us to share our perspectives, learn from other youth leaders, and explore ways to drive positive change back home. Some of the key topics we discussed including anti-litter, mental health awareness, civic engagement, and strategies for the building of stronger community connections. These conversations were eye-opening and reinforced our belief that young people can and should have a seat at the table when it comes to shaping our future. Through these sessions, we had the chance to collaborate with fellow young leaders, engage ideas, and develop leadership skills that will help us continue making a difference in Fayetteville and the Cumberland County.
In addition to attending leadership sessions and workshops, we had the opportunity to meet with elected officials and city leaders from across the country. These interactions helped us better understand the role of government in creating change and reinforce the importance of youth representation in decision-making. It was inspiring to see firsthand how advocacy, policy, and leadership intersect to shape the communities we live in. As members of FCYC, we are dedicated to serving as a voice for young people in our community. Through our work, we aim to amplify youth perspectives, promote civic engagement, and advocate for organizations that benefit students and families throughout Fayetteville, Cumberland, and Cumberland County.
We are so incredibly grateful for the continued support for our local leaders, mentors, and community members who help make opportunities like this possible. Thank you for allowing us to share our experience tonight. We look so forward to continuing our work and making a lasting impact in our city. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Before you leave, walk around, come back around, and Commissioner Tyson is going to present you with a certificate.
Yeah.
I took lessons. Thank you so much. Thank you, Commissioner Tyson. Thank you. We'll go ahead and move to the public comment period. I'll call on County Manager Greer to read the public comment policy.
The public comment policy period procedures are as follows. The public comment period shall last no longer than 15 minutes. Time may be extended at the discretion of the board. Each speaker will have a maximum of 3 minutes to make remarks until the 15-minute limit is attained. No time may be yielded by a speaker to another speaker. Speakers will be acknowledged by the board in the order in which their names appear upon the sign-up sheet. Speakers will address the board from the lectern and begin their remarks by stating their name and address. Public comment is not intended to require the board to answer any impromptu questions. Speakers will not discuss matters regarding the candidacy of any person seeking public office. Speakers will be courteous in their language and presentation. Personal attacks will not be tolerated. Written comments and/or supporting documents may be left with the clerk to the board.
Thank you, County Manager. Madam Clerk, are there any public speakers?
We have 3 speakers.
Go ahead and call your first speaker.
Tanita Stevenson.
Yes, ma'am. Come forward to the podium, please, and if you will let us know your name and your address, and then you have 3 minutes to speak.
I hope I don't take more than that because I heard nothing he said.
You do what you need to do, ma'am. You're fine. Just if you'll tell us your name and your address, and then you have 3 minutes, ma'am.
My name is Tanita Stevenson. I live at 1021 Jimmery Avenue in Eastover, North Carolina. I'm here to request a tax relief for myself and my husband, and I'd like to include my neighbors. I live in a 75-plus housing development of just residential property. All of the residents are over 75 to 80 years of age. We have lived in the neighborhood since 1967 and 70, so years ago. We have paid county taxes for over 50 years, and most of us are widows and widowers, all on Social Security. So we request that our names be taken from the tax rolls. If not, we ask for a sliding scale for residential property. I know you thought I was going to talk about evaluation. Our house sold for $15,000 when we bought it. Last year, it was appraised at $100,600. This year, it has been appraised at $201,000, almost double. I'm not complaining about that. We have been doubly blessed by the Lord in all that we have obtained. But we have placed $300 each month from our Social Security into our savings so that we can meet our tax bills, plus our homeowner's insurance, and any other big expense that might come. Taxes are now becoming a drain upon those of us who are older. My husband will be 88 the 30th of this month. And believe it or not, I'm 86.
All right.
So we certainly would like to have a tax deduction on our property. Our property has been kept up as best we can keep it up, and so has our neighborhood. But it is an older neighborhood of widows and widowers, and we would ask for your concern and your approach to helping those of us in the county who are aging and are still able. We're not disabled. We're still able to get around. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Madam Clerk, if you'll call the next speaker.
Wayne Wood.
Wayne. Mr. Wood? Mr. Wood? Okay, not seeing a Mr. Wood, so we'll move to the next speaker, Madam Clerk.
Dr. Ken Schaff.
Yeah, that's me. I'm Ken Schaff. I live at 2123.
Step up, sir.
I
Thank
live
you.
at 2123 Pigeon River Road, Fayetteville here. Well, it's two speakers that are going to be speaking about the reevaluation of homes. And I wanted to speak about three things, and I'm probably only going to get time to cover two of them. The first one is the transparency and redress. First of all, I'm married to a German. I'm disabled 100% with a traumatic brain injury. I live approximately a quarter or a third of my time in Germany. I have to be here because of hospitals and doctors and things like that, so I spend most of my time here in Fayetteville. When I bought my house, I bought it in 2020 for $52,000 paid cash. I paid my taxes, paid 2 years, didn't worry about my deduction for being disabled. I got that though in 2023, and my property was reappraised. It was depreciated because it was built in 1956. When I got my reevaluation just a month ago, it was evaluated at $170,000, which is 191% from what it was when I was first given my evaluation in 2023. I did extensive research on the area, turned in my packet. I know that I'm supposed to get a reevaluation of that, and they'll look at it and they'll go, okay, yes, it's going to be lower. But here's my problem. At the end of April, I go back to Germany. I'm there for 2 solid months. It's right in the time period that all of those things are going to happen. No one could tell me, how do I get an ability to say, hey, can we look at mine and just look at that? No one can give me any information. In fact, I called today, or I was called today about this and ended up coming here because I need to know, how do I address it before I leave on the 26th of April, that I can fully address that. The second issue I have is the procedures and transparency of how those evaluations were made. In my property, I went down, I have a marketing area. My marketing area is literally on the county line. When you turn off of a street onto my road, that street is half county, half city, and you turn into the county. They're putting in hydrants right now. They're putting hydrants in on both sides of my property and not in on my street with 5 houses. They have sewer systems. I don't. So they did not look at it. They absolutely didn't look at one street compared to another, and they need to do that.
Thank you, sir. And before you leave, County Manager, we can make sure we get connected on staff on the tax assessment officers, please. We'll get you, make sure we get you connected.
I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
That's what I figured I'd get, is information.
Yes, sir. Madam Clerk, are there any other speakers?
There are no more speakers.
We'll go ahead and close the public comment period. We'll move to item 1, approval of the agenda. County Manager Greer, any changes for the agenda?
There are 2 changes to the agenda, Chairman Devier. One, under consent items, item N1, we'll need to pull and move to an item of business and make it 5C, fiscal year 2026 health insurance benefit plan changes. And then we need to add a closed session under NCGS 143-318.11A, paragraph 3.
Attorney-client matter.
Attorney-client matter. Those are all
Anything?
the changes.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion, Vice Chairwoman Jones.
Make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion to approve the agenda with the additional items moved and added, and there's properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for your vote. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Unanimous.
And we will go ahead and move to item 2, presentations. Item A is Women's History Month, and I will call on Vice Chairwoman Jones for the presentation.
Thank you, yes. This is Women's History Month. We're in a historical building. Just a little bit of history for Women's History Month. This is an annual observation to highlight the contribution of women to the events in history and contemporary society, celebrated throughout March in the United States, also through the United Kingdom, and throughout Israel. Women's History Month was first recognized by Jimmy Carter in 1987, and we are glad that we continue to celebrate Women's History Month as we have several women leaders here in Cumberland County, and now we would like to show a presentation and honor and celebration of the women in Cumberland County that we celebrate.
If you'll direct your attention to the screens. I don't think I saw them in there, but I want to recognize our clerk and our assistant clerk because they are so important to the operations of our board. So, thank you.
And Mr. Chairman.
Vice Chairman Jones, you're recognized.
Yes, I want a correction. I'm a history buff, and somebody might have caught that. I said Women's History Month was 1987, when I meant to say 1978 under Jimmy Carter. I don't know if anybody caught that, but that is the correction when he had his proclamation, 78, not 87. Record state.
Commissioners, any comments you'd like to add? All right, hearing none, I will move to item B, Historic Courthouse. County Manager Greer, if you want to present.
Yes, this is a presentation of the very building in which we in. It's 99th birthday, I guess. Andrew, Mr. Weston is going to present this item.
Thank you, Mr. Westendorf.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm Joseph Westendorf. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the Local and State History Department Manager here with Cumberland County with the library. And I'll be giving a short little talk. I'll try to keep it around 5 minutes on Cumberland County and its courthouses, a short history. So to start with, our county, Cumberland, was formed in 1754 out of Bladen County. It was named for the Duke of Cumberland, which residents have found ironic because the Duke of Cumberland was a son of King George II, and he had defeated a large force of Scottish Highlanders fighting for Bonnie Prince Charles in the UK in 1746. A lot of those Scottish Highlanders, once they lost, they came over to Cumberland and America, so it's kind of ironic that they ended up naming Cumberland after the person who beat them in battle. And here we see Cumberland snaking across the screen. In 1753, it didn't exist, and now it did. And what a lot of people don't know is Wake County, actually part of Wake County, came out of Cumberland County. Wake was formed in 1771 out of Orange, Johnston County, and Cumberland County. Moore County, there's a mistake on the side. Moore County was formed out of Cumberland in 1784, not 1794. And then Harnett County was formed out of Cumberland in 1855, and Hoke County in 1911. And this is the famous McDuffie map of Cumberland County from 1884. And as we see, the western part of the county, which later became Hoke County, is still Cumberland. And what I love about this map is it tells the names of the people and places who lived there back in the 1880s. So you see the Gillis Hill farm. The Gillises still live there on the map. There's a really good example on UNC's map website where you can zoom in, and a lot of those families are still there. And if you look close, near where Reed Ross Classical High School is today, it says Tokay Vineyards, because Tokay Vineyards before Prohibition was maybe the biggest vineyard in the country east of the Rocky Mountains. And until the 80s, people who lived in that area said they could still find grapevines growing there randomly. And county history, we can't talk about the county history without talking about Great Fire, which burned Fayetteville in 1831, Sherman's March, because Sherman's March honestly devastated Cumberland County for decades. He burned a bunch of cotton mills that were in what later became Hope Mills. He burned down the Fayetteville Arsenal and burned down the Fayetteville Observer, and it really set the county back a couple decades. And then moving on to the present, Fort Bragg has caused Cumberland to develop and become more of an urban community, and now the county has 334,000 people, fifth in the state, while still having a decent amount of farmland outside of Fayetteville. And interestingly, to connect to Lafayette, I know we have a proclamation for Lafayette later tonight. In 1784, Cumberland County actually briefly changed its name to Fayette County in homage to Lafayette. In 1784, when it split and Moore County came into existence, they actually named the county Fayette County for around 6 months. Then they changed back to Cumberland, probably because they thought, Fayetteville has already stolen our thunder. And it's really confusing if the capital seat of the county is Fayetteville when the county's called Fayette. And then 1825, Lafayette visited Fayetteville, only place in America named after him he actually visited, and he stayed on the spot. The Duncan McRae house used to be here. There's a marker outside, you probably saw when you walked in, saying he stayed here in 1825. And now moving on to our courthouses. The first courthouse was established in what is now Linden in 1754. Then it went to Campbellton, and there was another at Cross Creek, kind of almost competing jurisdictions. And then in the 1780s, the James Square Courthouse was founded. That is now at the intersection down the street where Green Street meets Ramsey, Rowan, and Grove. That used to be James Square Courthouse and Courthouse Square. Then the historic courthouse, this building, Cornerstone Building, 1924, opened 1926, and then our modern courthouse. This is the James Square Courthouse from around the 1880s. It was running out of space by then as Cumberland grew, and they moved the courthouse to where Gillespie now meets West Russell Street. At the time, this part of it was called Munford Ave. That opened in 1893. But after opening it, they realized maybe they shouldn't have built it there because right next to it was one of the biggest mule lots in the South. So during the summer, it smelled and there were a lot of flies, and the building didn't have AC. So after they bought it, they probably at the time when they bought it, they thought, oh, this person's on his way out. Nope, 1914, he was still there. And that's one of the reasons they eventually decided, you know what, this courthouse is not working out. So in the 20s, when they built this courthouse, someone else bought the plot, and in the 1950s, the old courthouse there burned down in a fire. Then we get to this building, the historic courthouse. It opened March 15th, 1926, so 99 years ago this Saturday. Neoclassical style courthouse. When it opened, people in the community said it is a courthouse we can be proud of, one of the finest in the state. And then present-day courthouse opened in 1978. And when it opened, it was only planned to be the courthouse. There was a plan to build another government services building, but for whatever reason, that did not work out. So now it's kind of doing double duty, but hopefully now at some point in the future, it won't be.
There you go.
And this historic courthouse closed in 1978. In 75, it has a jail on the 3rd and 4th floors. Those closed because they dealt with being overcrowded, no AC during the summer, and of course, they can't really open the windows to let in a lot of air because it's a jail. In 1991, they also actually filmed a Hollywood movie here, Billy Bathgate. There's a picture in the Observer from the time period of Dustin Hoffman outside signing autographs in February 1991. And this is courtroom today on the right side here, and on the left side, that's a picture of the jail cells on the 4th floor. I graciously was given an opportunity to go there by Rawls Howard of the Planning Department for Cumberland a couple months ago, and my department made a little video on the history of the courthouse, including the 3rd and 4th floors. Encourage you all to check it out if you haven't seen it. I would love if the public could actually take tours there, maybe like around Halloween, but I know that's probably a liability issue. But that's a historic courthouse today. If you see around you on the walls, these are historic figures from the county's history, whether sheriffs, judges, or lawyers. I think of Terry Sanford over there, who was governor, and John Leary over there, who is the first African-American lawyer in Cumberland County. And are there any questions?
Thank you for the presentation. I'll open it up to the commissioners if they have comments or questions. Commissioner Adams.
I will just have this comment because it is Women's History Month. In that corner is Sylvia Allen, who was one of the first African Americans to graduate from UNC's law school and to practice law right here in Cumberland County. So she's on the back wall. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other comments? Commissioner Tyson. Hearing none, no other comments. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for your help today.
Thank you.
We do appreciate it. We thought there was a great opportunity to do this today, so thank you for helping us put it together. We'll go ahead and move to the consent agenda. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda? I know we've already removed one.
I would remove item L, Mr. Chairman.
We'll move it to item of business D, 5D. Any other changes, commissioners? Hearing none, Vice Chairwoman, I'd entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda with the exception of moving item L, approval of communications policy for the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners, to item D, 5D, correction.
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion to approve the consent agenda with the item moved to an item of business.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Item N1, the county manager had requested that be moved as item 5C as well. I would ask that the motion reflect that.
Mr. Tyson, it was moved as part of the approval of the agenda, but so noted.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments on the motion on the floor for the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'll ask for your vote. Raise your right hand in affirmative.
Unanimous.
Thank you. We will go ahead now and we will move to two presentations. If I can get Mr. Westendorf to come back up, and actually I'm going to ask you to move, I think the clerk will show you how to move around if you'll go that way. And Commissioner Tyson, if you will join them at the podium. I need to sign this real quick. There you go. Didn't read it. All right, I'd like now to ask Mr. Hank Parfin and the members of the Lafayette Society to come to the podium. You can walk around this way, and Commissioner Adams, if you'll join them behind. And I'm gonna, if you want to read it up there.
Well, it's not a microphone, you can read it, Mr. Chairman. I mean, it's not a microphone.
Thought we had a remote mic.
Is there any water in
Mr.
the
Parker,
baptism?
you brought your entire membership, I think. That's great.
These are my co-chairs on the planning committee for the last term.
Their green dress is pretty.
And I'm going to read the bottom half of this before you take the picture, because this is a very long proclamation. Therefore, we, the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners, do hereby recognize the bicentennial anniversary of General Lafayette's visit to Cumberland County and honor the Lafayette Society and its members for their dedication to preserving and honoring the memory and the importance of the enduring legacy of Marquis de Lafayette. Adopted this 17th day of March, 2025. Signed, Kirk J. Devier, Chairman, Cumberland County Board of Commissioners.
Mr. Chairman, we can hold the
Yep.
proclamation.
I want to get the proclamation. Do it one more time.
You can stand right now. All right, count of three. 1, 2, 3.
Paper's falling.
Nope, there we go.
If you would, to my president of the Law Society,
Next, I'd like to recognize Vice Chairwoman Jones to be recognized for a short recognition.
Thank you so much. This is definitely a month of great celebrations and awareness. Not only is it Women's History Month, but in 1987, President Ronald Reagan recognized March as Developmental Disabilities Month to increase public awareness of the needs and potential of Americans with developmental disabilities and to provide the encouragement and opportunities that they need to lead productive lives and to achieve their full potential. It was the goal of President Reagan to break negative stereotypes, to educate society that individuals with disabilities are quite capable and highly intelligent with great capabilities to be able to live a productive life daily despite their challenges. I would like to also say that we really appreciate that of our Fayetteville Vision Center. They're always very active in our community. I see some of the members and their supervisor director today. If you all could just take a moment, stand up or wave your hand. We just wanted to say we appreciate you. We appreciate the fact that that is one of the directors right there. We appreciate the fact that you all do stay actively engaged because your voice matters, and you all are definitely a great example of individuals that give back to our community and that work and have productive lives. So we thank you so much, and we will continue to be a support to this Awareness Month, just as we are with the month for that of women. So thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chairwoman. We'll go ahead and move to item 4, public hearing. A, consideration of incentives for Project CrossFit. County Manager Greer, if you'll introduce the item and the presenter.
Yes, the public hearing procedures, arguments by the proponents and opponents should be limited to a maximum of 10 minutes per each side. If there's no group representative, each speaker shall be allotted a maximum of 3 minutes until the 3-minute time period is attained. Rebuttals will only be permitted at the discretion of the chairman with a maximum of 1 3-minute presentation by each side. The public hearing is for consideration of incentives for Project CrossFit. Rob Patton, representative with Fayetteville Cumberland Economic Development Corporation will present this item and answer any questions you may have.
Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Rob
Oh,
Patton.
I'm sorry.
Before you start this, let me, for the record, let me indicate, because this was advertised to be at the old courthouse, that we posted the public entrances to the new courthouse, that the meeting was being held here in case anyone came to this public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. Go ahead.
Sir, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Rob Patton, Executive Vice President for the Fayetteville Cumberland Economic Development Corporation. As the county manager spoke, we're here to represent tonight and present Project CrossFit for a consideration for an open public hearing, as well as approval. We're requesting approval of a cash grant of $88,107 paid out over a 5-year period. What is Project CrossFit? On the screen in front of you or behind you, you see an air dome. This company is one of only 3 in the world that manufacture air domes. This one here is actually taken at the Carolina Panthers practice field. They make them for NFL teams, they make them for the NCAA teams, they make them for sporting events overseas. So this is an international company based here in the United States. They are looking to increase our tax base by $4.1 million with investments, create 72 jobs, pay higher than the county average salary, and they're looking to make a decision in the very rapid future. Just to orient you a little bit here, this is their site plan of what they're looking to do. They will actually construct this dome, their domes, inside a dome because of the clear span. So we will actually, if approved and they choose us, we'll have a dome here in Fayetteville, Cumberland County. And to orient you where you are for where they're looking at, they're going to be going off of Aviation Parkway, bottom road down there to the bottom is Airport Drive. The airport is just off to the screen. It would be the bottom right of the screen. So this is where they're looking at going. Again, we are in consideration for this project. The city has approved this little over $63,000 of incentive. So again, asking for a public hearing as well as consideration and approval for that cash grant. Subject to any questions?
Commissioners, are there any questions before we move to the public hearing? Thank you, Mr. Patton. If you'll just stand by, we will go ahead and open up the public hearing. Madam Clerk, are there any speakers?
There are no speakers.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We will go ahead and close the public hearing. And I will entertain any additional questions or discussions before I entertain a motion. Hearing none. Commissioner Patel, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve a local incentive grant not to exceed $88,170, and that the incentive grant will be paid in installments over 5 years, provided the company meets the requirements for investment and job creation.
Second motion. There's a motion on the floor to approve the local incentive grant as presented. It's been properly seconded. Any further discussion on this motion? Hearing none, I'll ask for your vote. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Unanimous.
Thank you, Mr. Patton, for your work, and let's go win this one.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
We will now move forward to the rezoning cases. The first case before us is case Z0ZON25002. And I'll call on County Manager Greer.
Yes, Chairman, Ross Howard, Director of Planning and Inspection, will present this item and answer any questions you have.
Good evening.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Good evening.
Before I get started, I feel like I should recognize a member of our planning board who happened to be with us here this evening. This is Miss Jamie McLaughlin, who is the rep from Spring Lake, who's right here behind me. So I just wanted to say that she is here. So the first case, as I mentioned, let me open this. Case ZON 25002. You can see by the highlighted map where this case is located. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my bearings of looking up here and looking down here, so if I'm trying to do my best. So as you can see by the map that's on the screen, this site is located in the far southeastern portion of the county. You can see with the highlighted star. The applicant owner is Hefe Trust. The agent is Mr. Mike Adams. The request is to go from A1 agricultural to R15 for a single-family subdivision, or at least that was proposed to staff, for just a little over 20 acres. You can see the site itself is highlighted here. Let's see if I can get the pointer here on the screen. You can see it highlighted in the red crosshatch. You can see that it sits at Sharon Church Road, as you can see here, and Turnbull Road. So it sits close to that intersection, just to the southeast of that intersection. When you look at what's surrounding the area, it's largely open farmland, manufactured home, and single-family residential, as you can see by the land use map that you can see there. When you look at the zoning map in its coloration, you can see this area is largely zoned A1, which is our farming and agricultural district. You can see some smattering of RR, which is 20,000 square foot minimum lot sizes. You can see along Turnbull going down there. So you can see that for the most part, this is a lot of wide open, large parcels of land in this area of the county. Again, just more of a zoomed up. It's largely wooded. I would note, and I'll get into it here just as a part of the presentation, the only road frontage that you have on this parcel is going to be this little corner sitting right here on Sharon Church Road. And I'll say why that's important here in just a little bit. So the soils out here are largely hydric and hydric inclusion. There are no utilities, so there's no water and sewer in this particular area. When staff had to review this against the land use plan, the Southeast Cumberland plan calls this out to be farmland. So when we look at some of the districts that would otherwise be acceptable in that designation, you're looking at A1 and A1A. So the request was not consistent with the adopted plan. This is the subject property standing at that little corner that I was just pointing out to you here just a little bit ago. So that's just standing on the road looking inward. This is the northwest view on Sharon Church Road. with the property immediately on the left-hand side. If you look just there, you can see the zoning sign as per the state statutes for public notification that's there. This is on the north view looking across the street. And this is the southeast view, again, with the property immediately on the right-hand side of the street. So staff did recommend denial of this request. Just to put it just a little bit simply, staff had concerns about the soil. As I said, there's no utilities. There was no density out there that even matched an R15 density. We do have a DOT rep on our board who had made mention that there's only 18 feet of road frontage for this entire property. So that would not meet any kind of standard for DOT roads or access in order to get to the street. So there were a number of issues that staff had identified with this property. That's the reason why we led to our recommendation as it was. So when we did take this to the planning board, they also supported staff's recommendation for denial by a 7-0 vote. And I'll try to answer any questions if you have any.
I'll open up commissioners. Commissioner Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Howard, so just for clarification, and maybe we got the notes mixed up here.
Yeah.
This is case 25-002, correct?
It says approved. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I believe it is, yes.
Okay, the reason being is, I'm showing that the action by the board was approval, and this is from A1 to A1A.
Oh,
So I think you might have the,
I think you've got the wrong one.
I'm sorry. Again, I'm trying to jostle this. I'm sorry, this is case 24002. I apologize, Mr. Chairman. I'm getting my cases mixed up here with the change in technology. If you would like, I believe the motion, if you go to case 0042, I'm sorry, it should be that. So I can go through the presentation for that case if you would like.
I need you to move back to case Z0925. That's the item in front of us. So 25002.
25002. I
Not
apologize for that,
24.
Mr. Chairman.
It's the item in front of us. It's fine.
Okay, apologies on that.
I was about to ask you the same question Commissioner Tyson asked you.
Sorry about that.
that's okay.
Again, trying to juggle this. All right, then let's go to case ZON 25002. Apologies on that. So this case is located in the northernmost portion of the county court toward the Harnett County line, as you can see highlighted by the red star. The applicant owner is Todd and Stephen Clifton. The agent is Lisa Clifton. The request is to go from A1 agricultural to A1A agriculture. The intent is also for single-family residential for about 1.75 acres. You can see this sits on North Ramsey Street. You can see the property that's highlighted in the red crosshatch as you're starting to head towards Harnett County. Pretty much literally right at the line. The subject property, as I said before, is highlighted in the red crosshatch. You can see this, it's pretty much surrounded by single family and manufactured homes. There is some commercial, there's some storage units across the street. This area is largely A1. You do have some commercial zoning and some R20 in the area and R15, so you have a little bit of mix of different types of residential densities and commercial. Zooming in, I should also point out that this 1.75 is a portion of an existing parcel. So this red that you see highlighted on your map here is a part of this larger tract that is here. So, the reason why the owner had come and wanted to have this rezoned was to meet the minimum lot size in order to be able to put a home on the property, because right now it's non-conforming. So this is simply just trying to be able to fix that situation. There is a water line that runs out in this area. As you can see, it has pretty good soils. There's no hydric or hydric inclusion soils on the property. When we looked at this against the North Central Cumberland land use plan, it did designate it as rural agricultural. So the request is consistent with the adopted land use plan going to this particular district. As you can see, the associated districts down below are A1, A1A, R40, and R40A. So it was compliant with the plan. This is the subject property, existing home. This is the south view on Ramsey Street with the property immediately on the left-hand side. This is looking across the street, standing on the property. And lastly, this is the north view with the property immediately on the right-hand side. Again, you can see the sign for public notification is required by state statute. So staff did recommend approval of this request at the last meeting. So when we took this to the planning board last month, they supported that request by a 7-0 vote. And again, I'm sorry about that, Mr. Chairman. If you got any questions, I'll be happy to answer on this one or the other one if you like. So
We're going to stick to case 250002. Before we open the public hearing, any questions for Mr. Howard? Commissioners? Commissioner Fairclough?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Howard, can you clarify for the board and for anybody that might be listening, what is the difference between A1A and A1? What does that allow the homeowner to do if we should grant this request to A1A?
Largely, they're very similar. So A1 is an agricultural district. A1A is also an agricultural district. The primary difference that you're looking at between the two is going to be the minimum lot size of what's allowed. So A1 is a minimum 2-acre lot size. A1A is a minimum, actually a true 1 acre, not 40,000 square feet. So A1A is a 1 acre minimum lot size.
1 acre. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Commissioners, any other questions or comments? Commissioner Tyson?
With the A1A, it would allow for 2 dwellings on the same parcel as well, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other commissioners? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion. Vice Chairwoman Jones?
In case of Zone 25-002, I move to approve the rezoning request from A1 Agriculture District to A1A Agriculture District. The board finds that the request is consistent with the North Central Area Land Use Plan, which calls for rural agriculture at this location.
I'm sorry, Vice Chairwoman, I've got to open up the public hearing first. My apologies. We'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. Madam Clerk, are there any speakers?
There are no speakers.
Madam Vice Chairwoman, you can continue with your motion.
Okay, I'll get started. In case Zone 25-002, I move to approve the rezoning request from A1 Agriculture District to A1A Agriculture District. The board finds that the request is consistent with the North Central Area Land Use Plan, which calls for rural agriculture at this location. The board also finds that the request is reasonable and is in the public interest as it is compatible to and in harmony with the surrounding land use activities and zoning.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Chairman, just for minutes purposes, we got to close the public hearing, and just for that, just so we make sure we got it.
I thought I said that, but the public session's closed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams.
Well, I got a nudge.
There's been a motion on the floor to approve the rezoning request, properly seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for your vote. Please raise your right hand.
Unanimous.
Thank you, and you can just stay up there, Mr. Howard, and we'll go ahead and move to the one that you briefed us on, which is 24042.
Sir. I'm sorry, so staff have recommended a denial of the request and offer, and given all the aforementioned reasons why I had stated previously, the planning board had also supported staff's recommendation of a denial by 7-0. So if you have any questions, I'll try to answer what I can, or maybe go back into the presentation if you have any specifics.
I'll open up the Board of Commissioners for any questions.
I guess I do have the question.
Commissioner Adams, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You were going to go back and talk about the one point up at the corner?
Yes. So if you look, there was a concern from staff. I'm going to see if I can find one that's zoomed in. If you look at this, so staff had some concerns over the fact that that the owner also owns this one little parcel here that's part of this like zoning request, but does not own this parcel here and does not own this triangular piece that sits right on Sharon Church Road. So the only part that touches any road is that little corner right there, and that's literally 18 feet. And so if you go to DOT, especially if you're going to put 60 homes out there, you got to have at least 45 to 50 feet just to get a right-of-way in there to be able to put a street. And that's also making the assumption that DOT will grant you a driveway permit at that particular location. So, so there was just a number of concerns about the soils, utilities, and just the access in general that led us to where we are as far as our recommendation.
You have follow-up?
And the other thing I had, I always ask the question just one way. Well, it ain't even one way in and one way out, but if besides that, there was only going to be one way in and one way out of this property with all of those houses that were built in there.
Yes, sir.
That was always my concern.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Tyson, you recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just so everybody can understand, please explain to the board and to the public that's here why it's important to consider the concerns of the hydric soils and the hydric inclusion soils in this analysis.
Right. So we get the data from the Soil Service, and so a lot of it is really 30,000 foot type of view. When we get into the weeds of it, we have a soil scientist that will go out there and actually verify the soils particular for that property. But the hydric and hydric inclusion soils are, they're soils that are deemed to be not very favorable for for the drainage of septic systems and waters and wells and things like that. So, does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
Any other questions before we move to the public hearing?
I have a quick question.
You recognize Commissioner Fairclough.
You know, based on the location of the property, the first problem that I had with it was not necessarily the ingress and egress. The first thing I thought was, what is the proximity to the Key Moore's plant? You know, and has there been soil testing in that general area? And if we were okay with right-of-way, would that be our next question? So have we looked at that? Because this could come back.
We generally wouldn't get into that kind of detail until you start getting the subdivision plats in and we start reviewing that. That's when we get into that kind of detail about what's acceptable as far as the soils.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. Madam Clerk, are there any speakers?
We have one speaker in opposition, Chris Campbell.
Mr. Campbell, if you want to come forward. You have to be sworn in. If you'll just state your name and your address, and you have 3 minutes, sir.
Okay, thank you. My name is Christopher Campbell. I live at 10215 Turnbull Road, and I come in speaking for the whole Turnbull crew that we're in opposition to this, to the rezoning of this. I own that 20-acre tract right directly beside that, right there. Yeah, I own all of that, and so it would be a detrimental effect to me and all of our community. Just like he stated, this farming community is all A1 agriculture land. It's beautiful. We love it like it is, and we can't see those 60 homes coming in there. That's just impossible. I don't even know why anybody would even propose it. But that's the scary part. So, somebody proposed that, it's scary. Like, oh, wait a minute, you can't even get in there. And I've owned my property for 20-some years, so, and it is wet down there. It's very wet, and we can't see those 60 homes coming out there. And like I say, I speak for all of my Turnbull crew that we're totally opposed to rezoning of that.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Madam Clerk, are there any other speakers?
There are no more speakers.
We will go ahead and close the public hearing at this time. Ask for any other questions or discussion on this zoning case. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion. Vice Chairwoman Jones.
Yes, in case of Zone 24-0042, I move to deny the rezoning request from A1 Agriculture District to R15 Residential District. The board finds that the request is not consistent with the Southeast Cumberland Land Use Plan, which calls for farmland at this location. The board also finds that the request is not reasonable, nor is it in the best of the public interest, as it is not compatible to and/or in harmony with the surrounding land, use, activities, and zoning.
Second.
Motion to deny the zoning request is on the floor. Has been properly seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for your vote. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Unanimous.
We'll go ahead and move forward to case ZON 250001.
Again, this is up in the same general area of the county, as you can see highlighted by the red star on the location map up in the northeastern part of Cumberland County. This is case ZON 25001. So the applicant owner is Mr. John Robertson. The request is to go from A1A agricultural to R30A residential. The intent is to put some residential homes on a smaller piece of land. The acreage is just a little over 3.5 acres, but you can see by the map that it's highlighted in red. You can see it sits on Burnett Road, just at the intersection of Norris and Burnett. When you look at the land use around here, there are some single-family residential areas that are around here, as you can see highlighted in the yellow. When you look at the zoning, this area interestingly, you don't see a lot of A1A in very wide swaths across the county, but this little pocket of the county actually has quite a bit of that in that area. You can see that there was already a R30A that is abutting this particular property owner's property that's highlighted in the purple right there. Just a little bit of a zoom in. You can see the area is largely farming with some scattering of homes about it. It's got some good soils on the property, at least from what we see. There are no hydric or hydric inclusion soils, but there is no water line or sewer line, so they would have to go in through environmental health for any kind of well and septic permitting. This area is in the Northeast Cumberland Land Use Plan, which designates it as suburban residential. When you look at the associated districts that are out here, you're looking at A1 and A1A. So the request is not consistent with the adopted plan. However, when staff looked at this against the adopted plan, if you look at the suburban residential land use category, which literally sits at this property's boundary, it would be compliant as far as R30. So staff is going to be recommending this particular zoning, and your motion should be reflected in such that if the board feels as though that you feel that you want to go with staff and the planning board's recommendation, it would be an automatic plan change as per that motion. So I just wanted to point that out. So it's not consistent with the plan, but generally just given the what's going on around there and the land use designation that's right next to it, we felt like it was not too big of a detriment. This is the subject property, standing on the road, looking inward. This is the south view of Burnett Road with the property immediately on the left-hand side. That little square there is the sign for the public notification for the county. This is the west view looking across the street. Again, it's just largely farmland. And this is the north view with the site immediately on the right-hand side. Staff does recommend approval of the request. When we took this to the planning board last month, they also supported that by a 7-0 vote. So if there are any questions, I'll try to answer what I can.
Commissioners, I'll open up any questions. Commissioner Tyson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On Exhibit C, we had the soil and utility map that was included in our packet, and it showed the presence of hydric inclusion soils in the nearby area, and it showed the presence of hydric soils in the area abutting it. And so my question is, based on that exhibit, was that work that was conducted by a soil scientist or somebody that actually went and visited the site? Have they done any sort of soil analysis currently, or is this just based on our current soil maps that we have?
This is just based off the current soil maps that we have that we use. So a lot of that data comes from, like the Soil and Conservation Service. So a lot of this, as had stated in the previous case, is really 30,000-foot view. When you start getting into the details of the actual subdivision plat, that's when we will go out there and have the client actually do the soil analysis to be able to get the more specifics as to what's on the property itself.
Follow up, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Commissioner Tyson.
Thank you. So if we approve the change and for some reason that soil analysis comes back when they actually go to the site, what's going to govern is that soil analysis in determining the number of units, not necessarily the change in the zoning classification, correct?
I would say that's correct. Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions, Commissioners? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Madam Clerk, are there any speakers?
We have one speaker, John Robertson.
Mr. Robertson, if you'll go ahead and come forward and state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes, sir.
John Robertson, I live at 105 North Holland Avenue in Durham, North Carolina. And this land has been in our family for all my life. My mother had a little house there, but the land has not been any use for anything farming for 20 years, I know, and years before that. But we do recently have water there on that property. So I'm planning on letting my family have it. So if they want to put a house there, or whatever they want to put on it, that's the reason I want it rezoned to R30A. So it can split it up and divide it so that it can be of use rather than just being dormant.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, are there any other speakers?
There are no more speakers.
We'll go ahead and close the public hearing. I'll ask the board commissioners if they have any other questions or discussions.
Question. Commissioner
Faircloth, you're recognized.
Sir, please explain the difference in R30 and R30A, and why would the applicant prefer R30A over R30?
Okay, certainly. So the A after any one of our districts is largely just the option of being able to put a manufactured home on the property. So in R30, there would not be, in the straight R30 with no A behind it, there would only be stick-built homes. But if you put the A, the same standards apply, it just allows the option for both stick-built and a manufactured option.
Mr. Faircloth, anything else? Any other discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Vice Chairwoman Jones?
In case zone 25-001, I move to approve the rezoning request from A1A Agriculture District to R30A Residential District and find that, number 1, approval is an amendment to the adapted current Vision Northeast Land Use Plan, and that the Board of Commissioners should not require any additional request or application for amendment to said map for this request. Number 2, development and density allows for the R30A district. It is very compatible with existing lots, sizes, and character of the surrounding area. And number 3, the site is directly adjacent to a land use plan designation, which encourages higher destinies. The board finds that this request is very reasonable and is in the public best interest, as it is compatible with and in harmony with the surrounding land use, activities, and zoning.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion to approve the rezoning district or rezoning request has been properly seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I ask you to raise your right hand in the affirmative.
Voting in favor, Commissioner Tyson, Commissioner Council, Vice Chairwoman Jones, Chairman Deviere, Commissioner Patel, and Commissioner Adams. Voting in opposition, Commissioner Fairclough.
Thank you, Commissioners.
We'll go ahead and move to item 5, items of business. We'll start item A, water services agreement for Grays Creek Phase 1. County Manager Greer?
Yes, Chairman Deviere, as we pursue water in the Grays Creek area, provide safe regulated water both for the elementary school and Alderman Road Elementary School. We had to sign a water services agreement in order to get our PER approved by DEQ, Department of Environmental Quality. And recently we got that, came to agreement with PwC and the county, and Amanda will present this item. We anticipate taking this to DEQ on Monday the 24th and anticipate approval. Amanda?
Good evening.
Good evening. So as mentioned, this is a bulk water purchase agreement for Phase 1 of Grays Creek. Includes the purchase of 98,000 gallons per day at wholesale published rates from PwC. The term sheet, as referenced in our memorandum of understanding that dates back to April 2024, does not apply to Phase 1. This would be a county-owned and operated system with a estimated build-out of 273 customers in 20 years. I'd like to note that Phase 1, the county's Phase 1 project is separate from the project that PwC would be constructing down 87 from the vicinity of Havelock down to Alderman Road to serve the schools. The county's project would involve Thrower Road, a section of John McNeil, King Hiram, Pan Road, School Road, and up Chickenfoot to Pineville Road.
Commissioners, any question for Ms. Lee or on the item? Commissioner Tyson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I first would like to say thank you, Ms. Lee, for all the work and the effort that you and your department have put in to bringing this as a reality and to moving forward with addressing some of our concerns in this community. And talk to us a little bit, too, just so everybody can understand. I know you briefed us on this before, about the importance of having an identified water source as we move through this project and why at this point that we need to have that identified.
So we were successful in getting quite a bit of grant funds. Some of those grant funds were from the state ARPA program that they delegated to the county. These projects with these ARPA funds have to be constructed by the end of 2026. So it is imperative that we identify our water supply source so that we can begin construction of these lines. Is that
Thank you, Mr.
answer
Chairman.
your question?
Thank you, Ms. Lee. Commissioners, any other comments or questions? Just a quick comment. Ms. Lee, thank you for all the work on this. I know that's a passion of yours, but we appreciate the effort on this to move this forward. And I just want to remind, you said it once, but I want to, for the people listening, kind of 3 different things going on. So there's a PWC project line, there's our phase 1 line that Ms. Lee just briefed us on into the residential area. And then there's also a secondary where this board has previously approved filtration systems at both of the schools that Ms. Lee mentioned, at the water source in the building itself. Just want to make sure we're clear. There are 3 different things kind of going on. What we're approving tonight is this phase 1 water services agreement for Grays Creek phase 1. So again, thank you so much. I just want to make sure we were clear to the public on what we were doing. Hearing no other comments, I will entertain a motion. Vice Chairwoman Jones.
I motion we approve the water services agreement with Grays Creek Phase 1 and that the executing agreement in a joint letter from PWC in the district stating Phase 1 falls outside the scope of the MOU be submitted to the Division of Water Infrastructure.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor to approve the water services agreement. It's been properly seconded. I'll open up for discussion.
Just,
Commissioner Adams.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just, we're moving this along. It's for the health concerns of all of our citizens, and so excellent work, but those health concerns are what we're looking at. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams, for that comment. Any other comments before we take the vote? All in favor, raise your right hand.
Unanimous?
Thank you, Ms. Lee. Thank you, Board. We'll go ahead and move to item B, request for refund of 1/2 of excise tax for duplicate recording. County Manager Greer.
Yes, I'll turn this over to Rick Moorfield, County Attorney, to discuss and answer any questions that you may have.
Attorney Moorfield.
Board members, this is a request from an attorney who just basically recorded the same deed twice, a day apart, just an error and stuff. All those documents are included in your package. I've reviewed the deeds, and I'm certain that the amount that the county gets half of the excise tax on the duplicate deed, which the total cost was $417. Her request is for the $208.50 from the county's portion, and these circumstances I think certainly warrant that refund. This is controlled by statute. It's brought to the board because the board must hold a hearing on it. But in this instance, I notified the taxpayer, which was the attorney, by email, and she responded by email that she had acknowledged that she had noticed and that she would not be attending the hearing. So that it's not a public hearing. No one else can speak. But the process is I provided a resolution that states all the facts that are necessary for the board to grant this refund, and my recommendation is that you grant the request by adopting the refund. And all that stuff is in there because we have to report this to the Secretary of Revenue because she may be able to get the state's portion back too. That's why it's this process.
Commissioners, I'll open it up for any questions or discussion. Commissioner Adams?
You know, I'm on the attorney side, so we've all probably, and sometimes in attorneys, in terms of where we are filing documents, sometimes there are duplicate documents filed, and with this being paid out, and I think that, I know this attorney, and it was probably a mistake, and I would ask that we approve this request. And I see that the Register of Deeds also acknowledges that they are in agreement with this along with the county attorney. So I would ask this board to approve that.
Any other discussions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion. Commissioner Fairclough?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This time I would move that inasmuch as the Register of Deeds and the county attorney has recommended approval, that the Board of Commissioners also likewise approve this request.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion to approve the taxpayers' refund is properly seconded. Any further discussion on the item?
Mr. Chairman, on that motion, do you want to include that resolution? I think that resolution has to be included that was proposed, whereas this, he didn't read it all, but I think you want to put that in the motion that we approve that resolution.
Just
Want me to read that?
Adopt the resolution.
So we can add, if we can add to your, Commissioner Fairclough will add to your motion, if you'll accept, approve the taxpayers' refund request through the resolution as presented by the county attorney.
I'll add it by reference or I'll read it. What do you prefer?
If you want to read that much,
Reference is fine.
Commissioner.
Reference is fine.
Reference is fine.
Reference
Commissioner
is fine.
Fairclough. Any other discussions? Thank you, Commissioner Adams. Any
You're
other
welcome.
discussion on the item? Hearing none, I'll ask for your vote. Raise your right hand.
Unanimous.
We'll go ahead and move to item C, the moved item, fiscal year 2026 health insurance benefit plan changes. County Manager Greer?
Yes, during the March 13th, 2025 agenda session meeting, representatives from USI brought forward our 2026 recommended health insurance changes. Robin Kuntz, Director of Finance and CFO, will present this item and answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Good evening, Ms. Coons.
So I'm doing this solo tonight without Ed, but
I think you can handle it.
I think I can. Would you like for me to do a quick summary of where we left things on Thursday?
That'd be great. Just a quick summary of where we are so that the board and the listening audience understands.
Sure. So on Thursday, we had agreed that we were going to have no changes in our health plan coverage for the upcoming fiscal year 2026. That means no changes in the GLP-1s or anything like that. The estimated cost increase for that is just over $3.2 million for the plan overall. That's an 11.3% increase. The change that we recommended was to increase the monthly wellness incentives for our employees who met the wellness objectives from $30 per month to $50 per month per employee. And then also to increase the employee contributions by that same 11.3% that we're seeing in the overall plan change. So the increase to the employees in total was going to be just over $415,000 when you combine those two things, which is a net overall expense to the county once you took the $3.2 million overall plan estimate increase and netted against the increase in the employee contributions of $415,000. We're expecting an increase of just over $2.8 million for fiscal year 26. We also decided to continue with our Blue Cross Blue Shield pharmacy services contract and bid that next year along with the medical contract as well.
Thank you, Ms. Kuntz. Commissioners, questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion. Commissioner Patel?
I'll make a motion to go ahead and move this health insurance benefit plan changes forward for approval.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor to approve the health insurance plan as presented. It's been properly seconded. Further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll ask for your vote. Raise your right hand in the affirmative.
Unanimous.
Thank you, Ms. Coons.
Thank you.
See, you flew solo just fine. We'll go ahead and move to the added item 5D, approval of communications policy for Cumberland County Board of Commissioners. County Manager Greer, you're recognized.
Yes, I'm trying to get back to the item. Yes, and I'll turn this over to Brian Haney, Assistant County Manager. to discuss and present this item.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Haney.
Good evening, Commissioners. This policy was developed at the request of the chairman by the Public Information Office to put together a communications policy for the Board of Commissioners that will establish clear and consistent procedures for Public Information Office coverage of the board and its members in their official capacity, as well as the use of photos, press releases, social media, and other communications related to the board for board meetings and events and county-related activities. Items covered under the draft policy include Public Information Office coverage of meetings and events involving county commissioners, the use of county social media channels and issuance of press releases, the process for submitting requests for coverage and requested deadlines, as well as the provision of written remarks, media relations, and event coordination by the Public Information Office. This draft policy was presented to the board's policy committee on March 6th, and the committee voted unanimously to move this item to tonight's meeting for approval.
Commissioners, I'll open it up for questions. Commissioner Adams, you recognize?
And Mr. Chairman, and to the committee, I don't have a problem with workflow, and it's 7 of us, and it can get out of hand, and so I do understand that. But as the 6.1, where it says media relations, I will tell you, even a point pursuant to the statute, that if the media or anybody else has a question to me, I will answer that. I'm not going to send it to the PIO as an official spokesman. The chairman is the official spokesman for whatever the board does, but if one of my constituents or the press decides they want to ask me a question, I'm going to be able to answer that. I'm an elected official. I don't think that goes through PIO, doesn't go through the clerk, doesn't go through the chairman, doesn't go through any of the other commissioners. We're all elected officials. We can meet those, have those conversations, and do that. So I would be opposed to 6.1. If that's included, I would be opposed to the policy.
Any other comments or questions? Commissioner Tyson, you recognize?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I believe that this policy is also a guideline as well, so it's not a hard and fast rule, and it's not meant to be a straitjacket. It's meant to provide some framework to provide guidance to our board and to our staff so that we understand how media requests flow. So I would just submit that as well, that it's not meant to be a rule, it's more of a guideline so that we can have a framework.
Thank you, Commissioner Tyson. Any other comments? Commissioner Fairclough, you recognize?
My thoughts on this generally, I agree with Commissioners Adams and Tyson, except that if you develop a policy for commissioners to follow, what happens if they don't follow the policy? And I think I know what happens. I think that they could be censored by the rest of the board. Am I correct on that?
You don't have a censure process. Y'all did not, this board did not adopt a censure process in its ethics stuff. So you wouldn't be able to do it here. Let me make a comment though, as I read the second.
You recognize Mr. Moorfield.
I read the second portion of 6.1 there. I don't think it requires or it mandates that it says it's elected officials. So it's specifically addressing commissioners. They're contacted directly by the media. It says these questions may be redirected through PIO, or the PIO is available to assist with information and talking points or coordination is needed. There's nothing about this language that causes
Hold on, Mr. Adams.
that causes a commissioner to be bound to refer to the PIO.
And Commissioner Fairclough, I'll recognize you to continue your line of discussion.
Well, I think Commissioner Adams raises a good point. If you look at it overall from the standpoint of commissioners, I understand why we need to have some direction for the PIO. I understand that. But when it comes to county commissioners, basically every commissioner is equal. Chairman has one vote, vice chairman has one vote, everybody else has one vote. And other than running the meeting and having maybe 4 or 5 things that the general statutes does require the chairman to do, there's no difference in commissioners. So, like Commissioner Adams says, if we get a request from a constituent or the press, we're free to, regardless of policy, we're free to answer those without regard to PIO, anybody like that, unless in the case we may use them. And, you know, as long as we may use them, and it is a guideline, then I don't have a problem with it. But otherwise, if it's a restriction, then I want to get even more, we need to be even more restricted than this if we're going to start restricting people. And I have a lot of commissioners, not necessarily who are with us today, but some in the past and some might come along in the future that need some restrictions. But I don't think this particular group does.
Commissioner Patel, you recognize?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with Commissioner Adams and Commissioner Fairclough, but I think to Commissioner Tyson's point, I think these are guidelines. And Attorney Moorfield, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like this is more where it says questions may be redirected through PIO. I think it's more of a guideline for the board and commissioners individually to utilize PIO as a tool.
That second section specifically address commissioners, and it does, and it says that, I read it as meaning that the commissioner may use the PIO if they want to assist, but the way it reads, it doesn't say they have to do it, it just says they may do it.
Commissioner Patel, anything further?
No, that clarifies my question.
I'll get to you. I'm going to get one round. Vice Chairwoman Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know that we are discussing, as I agree with, and thank you to our attorney for clearing that up, Mr. Moorfield. Also, I think it's important that in that same clause, as we're looking at this, I do believe in my interpretation that it is just that for, in the use of it, if we would like to use it or not. As it also states, and just for listening users, other items as it states under this, other items under the policy include the following that are relevant to the county commissioner's involvement: PIO coverage of meetings and events involving county commissioners, the use of county social media channels and issuance of press releases, the process for submitting requests and requested deadlines, and the provision of written remarks, media relations, and event coordination. And I would just like to add to that, I'm taking that to mean, again, as they stated, if we feel we need to, just as, you know, they prepare remarks in the event. If we choose to use the statements, it doesn't mean that we're required to, but they're just there if we would like for them. I'm just using that as another example. It's not required that we use information statements that's prepared for us, but they are there in regards to the PIO and communications team in that regard if we choose to use that assistance.
Anything else, Vice Chairwoman?
Thank you, Chairman. No, not at this time.
Commissioner Adams, you recognize?
Yeah, and deference to the attorney, but if you go back to the one preceding that, it said should. There's a definite difference between should and may. All right, so if you want to make that a may be directed, that's fine, but it says media inquiries regarding county operations, the Board of Commissioners and the general county business should be directed to the PIO. That's not a may, that's a should. That's different than may. The second part I do understand is a workforce, and it does say may, but that one says should. And that's not, I'm not going to be directed to the PIO when the press comes and asks me questions. I'm just, if you want to make that a may, then I might, if I want to engage PIO to answer, give me some information and all of that, that's fine. But it should not be a should.
Well, Commissioner Adams talking lawyer to lawyer. To make this make sense, this top portion would apply to like staff or anybody but commissioners.
But it got commissioner in there.
Hold on, we're gonna redirect. Mr. Moorfield, finish your comment, please.
I mean, it just says the PIO is a official spokesperson, and Vice Chairwoman has already read that stuff out. But it says media inquiries regarding county operations, regarding Board of Commissioners, regarding general county business should be directed to PIO. But when you go down to the second part, the only way that these are not inconsistent, what applies to commissioners is that second part. And it just says that, I read this as meaning the commissioners can say whatever they want to, or they can use the PIO for assistance or do what they want, but it doesn't, you know, legally, a whole lot of difference between shall and may. And this one says, for commissioners, it says may.
Commissioner Adams, anything else?
I'm good, Mr. Chairman, as long as everybody understands what he's saying is the second part applies to the commissioners, not the first part. I guess that's what we're saying.
I mean,
That's the only way this makes sense.
In 1 second, Commissioner Tyson. Mr. Haney?
If I can clarify, the intent of the first bullet was more of a general statement about public information being the main conduit for the county. I want to put on the record, public information has no desire to require commissioners to go through the public information office for media inquiries.
Commissioner Tyson, you recognize.
I'll yield my time, Mr. Chairman.
Any other, Commissioner Fairclough, you're recognized.
Under item A, exceptions, it says exceptions to this policy may be made at the discretion and direction of the chair or vice chair of the Board of Commissioners. Requests for exceptions should be made to the chair and vice chair and communicated through the clerk to the board, communicated through the clerk to the board, to the communications director in writing. Did he not just mention an exception, and wouldn't he have to communicate, wouldn't he have to ask the chair or vice chairman if he could make that exception?
Mr. Haney, is that a question for Mr. Haney?
I guess that's a
Commissioner
question.
Fairclough.
That's a question for whoever wrote this, I guess.
Mr. Haney, go ahead.
In terms of the exception related to speaking with the media?
Yeah, who does the exception situation apply to, a commissioner or staff?
So I think the exception would be if a commissioner had a piece of this policy that they wanted to request to have an exception to, then it would go to the chair or vice chair would be the ideal way to carry that out. That was what was put in there. For speaking directly to the media, that is not something that any commissioner can speak to a reporter or the media at any point. We don't speak for individual commissioners. We certainly want to carry the message of the board forward. So that would not be a required exception under this policy.
Okay. I don't think we need that paragraph in here.
Commissioner Fairclough, any other comments? Any commissioners, any other comments, questions? Before we entertain a motion, just a couple comments from the chair. Be clear that, this is a policy that's moved forward. It is never, and never has been, and never will be the chair's intent to stifle the words of a commissioner. We're all duly elected, and you can speak to whoever you want, especially your constituents in the media. This is a guideline, as Commissioner Tyson laid out, but it also sets a framework for how we operate and how the PIO office operates internally and externally. So it's more of a guide. Let me be very clear again. This is by no means to stifle a duly elected official from being able to speak to your constituents, the media, or anyone else. You have full rights to do exactly what you raised your right hand to do. This, in my mind, and according to our attorney, which we trust with multiple matters, clearly says the same thing that I'm saying. So I just want to make sure that I'm clear and there's no confusion that this is not a direction from the chairman to try to stifle any elected officials commenting to their constituents or to the media. Just like many of us go on radio stations, we take interviews, you can do that. The only time you can't, as Commissioner Fairclough pointed out, the chairman of this board, just like some of you have served as chairman of this board, you speak on behalf of the board. And so there's a difference. When you're speaking individually. This policy that the PIO has laid out and the communications department has laid out, I don't believe hinders that in any way, and that's why we ran it through our attorney as well. So hearing no other comments, I will go ahead and entertain a motion. Commissioner Tyson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion that we approved the draft policy that as presented by the Board of Commissioners Policy Committee that was unanimously approved, and that we incorporate this into our policy moving forward.
Is there a second? We have a motion to approve the policy as presented. It's been seconded by Commissioner Council. Any further discussion on the item? Hearing none, I'll ask for your vote. Please raise your right hand in the affirmative.
Voting in favor, Commissioner Tyson, Commissioner Council, Vice Chairwoman Jones, Chairman Deviere, and Commissioner Patel. Voting in opposition, Commissioner Fairclough and Commissioner Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Haney. Appreciate the work on this and appreciate the direction tonight, the information tonight. We'll move to item 6, nominations. There are no nominations for this meeting. We'll move to item 7. There are no appointments for this meeting. And I will go ahead now and at this time recess the Board of Commissioners meeting. At this time, I will go ahead and convene the Grays Creek Water and Sewer District Governing Board meeting. And I'll move to the first item on the agenda, Grays Creek Water and Sewer District items of business. Item A, Water Services Agreement for Grays Creek Phase 1. County Manager Greer.
Yes, this is the water services agreement that we spoke to earlier in the item of business 5A. No changes, just requesting approval of the water services agreement so we can provide safe, regulated water to the community of Grays Creek.
Commissioners, I'll open it up for any questions or comments. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion. Commissioner Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I make a motion that we approve the water services agreement for Grays Creek Phase 1 and that the executed agreement and a joint letter from PwC and the district stating Phase 1 falls outside the scope of the MOU be submitted to DWI.
Second.
And a motion that's been properly seconded to approve the Water Services District. Any further discussion on the item? Hearing none, I'll ask for your vote. Please raise your right hand.
Unanimous.
We will now go ahead and, seeing no other business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Vice Chairwoman Jones.
Motion to adjourn and go into closed session for attorney-client privilege.
No, we're going to adjourn the Grays Creek Water.
Oh, I'm sorry. Motion to adjourn Grays Creek Water and Sewer District.
Second.
We've got a motion to adjourn the Grays Creek Water and Sewer District. Properly second. All in favor, say aye. Raise your right hand.
Unanimous.
We are adjourned. I will now reconvene the Board of Commissioners meeting. And we'll move to item 9, closed session. I'll call on Vice Chairwoman Jones for a motion.
Motion to move into closed session for attorney-client privilege pursuant to NCGS 143-318.11A3.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's been a motion to go into closed session. It's been seconded. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Unanimous.
And we're in closed session. And our return from closed session. Vice Chairwoman Jones, entertain a motion.
I entertain a motion that we come out of closed session, the client and attorney privilege.
Motion to come out of closed session. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Unanimous.
We had some business during closed session. I'll entertain a motion to address the item of business. Commissioner Tyson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion that this board ratify the contract with Hutchins Law Firm as presented by our county attorney, Mr. Rick Moorfield, in closed session, and that we instruct Mr. Moorfield to move forward with that firm in investigating and looking into the items of the Crown Event Center project that are denoted in that agreement.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion on the floor to ratify the contract with the attorney investigating the Crown Event Center. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, I'll ask for your vote. Raise your right hand in affirmative.
Unanimous.
You're slow. Hearing no other business, before I do ask for a motion to adjourn, I just want to take a moment. I should have done it earlier. I want to thank the staff. It's not easy to come out of our normal chamber and put this together to do this tonight. So we appreciate all the staff's work on this, both from the communications office and our clerk's office, and facilities and other people that were participating in this. So thank you so much. I think it was a great way to celebrate the 99th anniversary and to actually do it over here. So hearing no other business, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. And we're adjourned.